Oh, hey guys, wanted to review for our second Math Monthly test that is this Wednesday. Just a reminder on the screen, you can see these monthlies build on each other. So it will include the two-digit multiplication and the division that we did on the first monthly, in which we did really well. There will be problems, a couple of those problems thrown in. But mostly this Math Monthly 2 is going to include the adding and subtracting of fractions, and then the stuff we've been doing for the last week or so, recognizing that fractions are division. So I have some problems. Some of these we've talked about in class, but this is last year's school district monthly 2. We don't know what the questions will look like or what they'll ask us before that test actually comes out, but this is the one that they gave last year that includes all these topics. So this is a good review for what we need to be ready for. So to use this video, we're going to do it the way we always do it. I'm going to pause it, you're going to solve it, and then you can unpause it to work through the problem with me. So get out some paper, pencil, pause the video, solve number 1, and then play the video when you have your answer. Okay, so number 1 is another one of these ones where we have to play the question first, right? We have to understand what it's asking us. Select all the sums that are true. That means there's going to be more than one answer. So I've told you guys in math, not all the time. When they ask for more than one, almost always seems to be 3. Almost always. So don't feel like you got to find 3. But if you find 4, probably have too many. If you only find 2, I would really check the other ones. So to find out which ones are correct here, we would just start solving this and try to see what we have. Your common denominator would be 12. So to get a 12, you'd have to multiply this by 3, which means you multiply your numerator by 3. Up here, you multiply your denominator by 4 to get to 12. So on the top, you multiply the numerator by that. So now essentially we're just taking these and we just converted them to something we can add, right? So 5 plus 2 is 7. And now your denominator stays the same and we can add 9 plus 4 is 13. So you can see we found one of the answers, right? Now we have to see if there's any reducing, converting, and we have to, when it says select all, we have to look through all the other choices and figure out which ones equal 7 and 13/12 and which ones don't. So, I mean, real quick, we already know the answer is 7. If it's 7, it's got to be 13/12. So that pretty much takes C and eliminates it, right? Because 7 and 4/12, it's never going to go from 7 and 13/12 to 7 and 4/12. So now we've eliminated one, right? B already looks a little shady because it has a 7 as the denominator. 7's a prime number. And with a 3 and a 4 in our denominator, are we ever going to get a 7? We never would get a 7, right? But if you think about B, they put that in there because if you don't find your common denominator and you just add the denominators together and do 3 plus 4 in the denominator, that would equal 7, right? So this one is also a trick answer. Now, I'm not so sure about A because A, I know, remember, a fraction as division. This is actually 12 into 97, right? So we're going to have to check that. If I put 12 into 97, it would go 8 times. 8 times 12 is 96, and I would still have 1 left over. So my whole number answer would be 8. My remainder would be 1, and my denominator would be 12. Well, that doesn't equal 7 and 13/12 yet. But if I look at 7 and 13/12, this 12 goes into the 13 one time. So that would get added to the 8 or to the 7 to make an 8. And if I take 12 away from this 13, there would be 1 left over and the denominator would be the same. So your answers would be A, D, and E. And I could tell you from last year, believe it or not, this was the one that was left out because people don't check it. When it says select all, you have to go through and eliminate each choice. If you just find a correct answer and say, I'm good to go and move on, it will mark this whole problem wrong on your test if you don't get all the choices. So this is one you need to take your time on. I would not rush through this one. There's no easy way out of this one. You have to take your time. All right, pause the video and solve number 2. So number 2 is they are combining their buckets of water. How many do they fill all together? Well, Karen filled 3 2/3. Lacey did 2/5. Our common denominator, I mean, really, once you look over here, you can see that 3 and 5, a common denominator has to be the smallest number that both of them go into, right? So 5 going into 5 is the smallest. Well, 3 doesn't go into 5. So then the next number a 5 goes into is 10. Well, the 3 doesn't go into 10. The next smallest number that a 5 goes into would be a 15, and the 3 goes in. You can always multiply those numbers for the denominator, and it might give you harder numbers, but you can never go wrong multiplying them, but try to find the one that's the least. So if I know that my denominator has to be 15, that pretty much eliminates this one. And I don't even know how they went the 0 in the numerator. I don't even know if that's legal. But these two are always with these tests. Look at the choices and eliminate ones that don't make sense. So now I'm down to 2. So if I make my denominator 15 over here and 15 over here, I would have to multiply by 3 to get this 15. So I'd multiply by 3 up here and get a 6. This is times 5. So this would be times 5. That would give me a 10. I would then add those together to get 16/15. Don't forget about your 3. That's basically plus 0 up here, right? So the 3 would come down. Now that is not one of my choices. But this 15, remember, fraction is division. 15 goes into the 16 one full time. So that is going to get added to this. So, I mean, technically I could stop because the answer has to be A, right? Because it's never going to be 3 4/15, because right when I see this, I know I'm over 4. So technically you could stop. But if you didn't want to, you would be taking 15 out of this 16. There would be 1 left over, and your denominator would stay the same, and you would find it. That's when you can't miss, because 2 of the choices make no sense based on the denominator. And then right when you work out the problem, the third one doesn't make sense. All right, pause the video and do number 3. Number 3 is the hardest problem for everyone to understand, and it's very, very hard for even me to understand. And I have a feeling we'll see a problem like this. Select one box to make this statement true. Okay, let's think about this. This is when you have to understand what fractions mean, right? You have to understand when a fraction is bigger than 1 and when it's less than 1. We've talked about this for weeks now. This is understanding that this is division, right? So the first box that says some amount of friends equally share some popcorn, right? We're never going to be able to figure out which one of those combinations to pick because of those boxes. We need to look at the bottom. Each friend got how much of a bucket of popcorn? We know it's equal, right? It has to be equal. So this is where I recommend drawing a picture. So whether you take 5 friends, 8 friends, or 10 friends, and whether you take 3 buckets of popcorn or 4 buckets of popcorn, doesn't really matter to me. What you need to think about is the big picture. At the fewest amount of friends there could be is 5, right? And the most there could be 10. So no matter which one you pick, if there's 5 friends, that's the fewest. And the most popcorn you could have is 4. Is each person, is each friend going to get a whole bucket of popcorn? You should be going no. Because whether you pick 5, 8, or 10, and even if you give them the most popcorn they can have, which is 4, each person's not going to get their own bucket ever, right? So you have to look at this box first and realize that that's where you're getting your answer for these 2 boxes from. Because you can make up every scenario you want in the world. It doesn't matter. This box has to be correct first, or else the other one doesn't matter. So we know our answer has to be a fraction less than 1. Well, if you look at that box, there is only one choice that is a fraction that's less than 1. Now, you guys have to remember, these are division problems. 3 goes into this 10 3 times. with some left over. 3 goes into this 8 2 times with some left over. 4 goes into this 5 1 time with 1 left. So this is saying, this one would say each friend got 3 buckets of popcorn and some, 2 buckets and some, and this would say 1 and some. Only one of these even comes close to making sense. So you would have to get that box first. This is a big time thinking problem, and you have to understand, if you don't understand the fractions and how they work by drawing out a picture, draw the friends, draw the popcorn bucket, and realize that they each get more, or each one would not get more than 1. It's the only way you can solve that. So that's a thinking problem. That one's tricky, but it's really not if you think. All right, let's go on. Number 4, pause the video and do it. So number 4 is a review from the first test, right? This is the first time we're going back. Total weight of the boxes, 285 pounds times 27 boxes. What is the total weight? Well, I would hope you guys would immediately realize that it can't be A or B because those are too small. If you took an estimate of 220 and put them together, that would be 4,000. So even with a horrible estimate, like doing 200 times 20, which is a horrible way to estimate, none of those make sense, right? So now always look at your choices. We know the answer's got to be in the 7,600s, right? We know that ones place has got to have a 5. So we need to examine the tens place in this problem, right? This makes it easier and saves you time. So let's start going. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 8 is 56, plus 3 is 59, carry the 5. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 5 is 19. Put in my placeholder here, the 7s are done. So pretty much right after this number, I can be done because 5 times 2 is 10. And I don't even have to go further. I know that it's going to give me a 9 in the tens place, right? Because I know this is a 0. So, I mean, ultimately, you can stop there. I mean, you can keep going if you want, and you would get so you would get the whole thing. But right, we want you to, it's important that you recognize, because remember, this is more about thinking than the math problems, right? Hopefully you realize that when you see that, you can stop. All right, pause the video and do number 5. Okay, we've done these area models with multiplication and division, right? You have to understand that when you're multiplying, the number's getting bigger. So you would be adding. This one, even though they look pretty much exactly the same, is subtracting the whole time. So you have to understand this is a division problem when you see it being taken away every time. If it was adding it in, that would be multiplication. So that pretty much eliminates A as one of our choices because that's multiplication, right? D doesn't, I don't know why. D is basically just this box only by itself. So that doesn't really make any sense for what this equation, the whole equation would match, right? So that is just a total trick. And now you guys have to understand what this is asking you, right? Because here, B is just 48 divided by this number right here by itself. Well, we've already taken this whole number out. So how could that match it? We've already gone down the line in the problem, right? So you have to see and understand that the actual problem here is this 48 into this 8,016, right? So your answer would be C. This, oh gosh, I don't know how to say this. This is one of the problems where if you paid attention for the whole first quarter, this is painfully simple. And if you didn't pay attention and you don't understand what I'm talking about right now, probably didn't listen very well, and it's probably not making a lot of sense to you. So just remember, when you see the area models, if you're adding, it's multiplying. If you're minusing numbers out of it, it's division. And then you have to know that this is the divisor going into the dividend, right? All right. Pause the video and do number 6. Number 6 is another one of these simple problems. But if you don't take your time, if you miss one or leave one out, you miss the whole thing. So you've got to take your time and go slow. Which expressions have a value of 18? Well, we've already talked about how you can eliminate the zeros, right? Only equal on both sides. So A would give us 18. 1 into 18 is 18. So A would be one of the answers. Now, if 1 goes into 18 times, well, 2 certainly is not going to, right? So hopefully you see that this is basically the same problem twice with just a 1 and a 2. So this one makes no sense. This, we can eliminate the zeros. 2 goes into 36, 18 times. So C would be one of the answers. We could take one of these out, take one of these out. 2 goes into 6, 3 times. So is that ever going to equal 18? No, it would equal 30. So that doesn't work. And then 4 goes into 72. Promise you, it's 18 times. This is the one that you'll leave out and you'll think, oh, those numbers look too big. They look crazy. They don't work. But what they want you to see is right here, if 2 into 36 equals 18, 36 doubled is 72 and 2 doubled is 4. So if you pay attention to this one, you should be able to see the similarities between the two. But remember, once again, if you don't take your time and rule out each one and you just pick 2, you'll miss the whole thing. So you got to go slow. All right. What is the value of this expression? So for number 7, pause the video and do it. Okay, so for number 7, you're going to take 2/3 and you're going to minus 1/6. I like to write it up and down like this so I can see it. Your common denominator is going to be a 6. So I've got to convert this top fraction. I would have to make a 6 in the denominator. So to do that, I multiplied by 2 here. So I'd have to multiply by 2 here. So that would give me 4/6. 4 take away 1 is 3. My denominator stays 6. And your answer just comes out to 3/6. I mean, I don't know. If you do number 7 wrong, I'm concerned because that's about the easiest problem they could ever give us, right? None of the other choices make sense. I don't know how. I honestly don't know how you would miss that. I mean, I know they're trying to trick you with some of these, but I mean, I guess A would be the answer if you just like subtracted the top and then backwards subtracted the bottom. I guess D would be the answer if you added them together instead of subtracting them. I'm not exactly sure how you would get B. Maybe, oh, if you didn't convert it right and you kept the 2 and the 1, I guess you would get 1/6. But I mean, if you go through the steps, only one of those answers is even kind of close to right. So I hope you guys can do number 7. If not, practice those. All right, pause the video and do number 8. Okay, we let number 8 confuse us because there's a lot of words in it, right? We know after the 2 days, he ran a grand total. The most he ran was this, right? Was 1 1/3. And we know that we want to find out how much he ran Tuesday. So we're going to take away how much he ran on Monday to find out how much he ran on Tuesday. Now, I don't know if this is going to make sense to you guys. I don't know how good we are with these fractions, but 1/3 is smaller than 1/2, right? Right? A half is a half, right? A half is 50%. A third is 33% of something, right? Like of the cookie, 1/3 means you get 33%. 1/2 means 50. So does everyone agree if that's true? If I'm taking a half away from a third, then we're going to have to dig into this whole 1, right? So our answer has to be less than 1. Because when you're taking a half away from a third, you're going to have to break up that 1 to be able to do it, right? Well, what do you guys see with the choices? How many choices are less than 1? There's literally only one choice that this question could be, right? If you understand that, this is one that you could do quick because if you understand that, I mean, I've never seen it with like the 0 over 1. Like, I don't know, 1 would be the common denominator. How would you ever get a 1 as a common denominator, right? This is adding. You would never get a 5 as a common denominator. So, I mean, ultimately, you would be down to 2 questions, 2 choices right off the bat. 1 and 1/6. I mean, that would be if you added them. I guess if you added them together, I'm not even sure. But if you know that 1/3 and 1/2, I mean, you could always do the problem, right? You could make the common denominator 6 and multiply this by 2 and this by 2 and get 2 6. Multiply this by 3 and get 6. And multiply this by 3 and get 3. And then you can't do the subtraction, so you would break this up and you would add the 6 6 to it, and you would get 8 6 and 3 6. Then you would subtract and get 5 6. I mean, even if you did all the work, it would still come out. But what we want you to think, right? 1/3 is smaller than 1/2. So right when you take away the half from the third, you're going to have to break up that 1. So your answer can't be over 1. So you've only got 1 choice left. All right, number 9. I'm not even going to have you pause. I'm just going to talk about it because this is very, very confusing. You can get this flipped very easy. You just have to memorize this, right? That when these division problems are written out, 8 divided by 3, you have to have the 8 and divide the 3 into it, right? You have to remember the whole thing that you're talking about comes first and the number you're dividing into it comes second, right? I sometimes get those backwards in my mind, right? And the 3/8, this is 8 into 3, 3 into 8, right? So for this problem, those are backwards, right? These things do not equal. This problem says 3 into 8. This problem says 8 into 3. So the choice would be false, right? This one says 4 into 5. This one, it's the denominator into the numerator, says 4 into 5. So this one would be true. Pause the video and try to do the last 2 on your own. Okay, real quick. 9 into 2, and this would be 9 into 2. So that would be true. 2 into 10, 10 into 2, that would be false. They don't equal, right? You have to remember, in the fraction, the whole number comes first, and then the one you're dividing into, the divide goes second, right? And in the fraction, the numerator is the top number, the denominator is the bottom, the denominator goes in. You just have to memorize that. I honestly, unfortunately, don't have any like tricks for that. And I will tell you, in my years of teaching 5th grade, I still sometimes put these backwards. You just have to remember that, okay? Number 10, pause the video and solve it. Okay, number 10, there are absolutely no tricks to. You just have to do the math. You have to practice these. There's no other way. I don't care how you solve it. You do it any way you want, but you have to be able to do it. 9 times 4 is 6, carry the 3. 9 times 2 is 18, plus the 3 is 21, carry the 2. 9 times 6 is 54, plus 2 is 56, carry the 5. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 5 is 32. So I just took this 9 times this, times this, times this, and times this. So the 9 is done. I'm going to take out my regrouping up here so I don't re-add it again. And now I'm going to go across the bottom. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 6 is 12. Regroup the 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus the 1 is a 7. And now we add. 6 plus nothing is 6. 8 plus 1 is 9. 6 plus 4 is 10. This is where we miss the problem because for some reason we forget to regroup. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 7 plus 3 is 10. You get your answer as 105,096. There is no comma for the 100,000 place in here. So you have to go 105096. and bubble them in for them to scan and count correctly. Don't put the comma. There isn't one. This is a decimal point. If you put a decimal point in here, that changes this to 105. I say it all the time. If you were supposed to get $105,000 and then you put a decimal in there, only got 105, you'd be sad. That one you just have to practice. There's no, I can't give you any tricks. I don't know. You have to solve it the way you know how to solve it. Make sure you fill in the bubbles. It's a lot, and I'll tell you, anybody that wants to hear my loud, annoying voice, we forget to put this in here, and then everything gets pushed over this way and we mess up. We forget to cross these out and then sometimes add them in again. And then mostly on Math Monthly 1, believe it or not, most of our kids, you guys do all the multiplication perfectly, and then you forget to add this. And 104,096 will give you the wrong answer. So please take your time with that. All right, pause the video and do number 11. Okay, number 11, again, no tricks. We've been solving this on your homework over and over and over again, doing it this way. The common denominator would be 20. To get the 20 down here, you multiply by 5. So you multiply by 5 up here, give you 15. Here you multiply by 4, so give you a 4 up here, 40, or 44. And now we're subtracting. 4 minus 15, you can't do it. So we're going to break up this 3, make it a 2. That would make this 24 20s because you're adding 20 20s. Remember, you can take that whole and break it up into anything you want, but keep it the same denominator, right? 20 20, 20 20ths equals 1. So you add that to the 4 and you get 24 20ths. Now you subtract 24 minus 15 is 9. Wait, what did I do here? Wait. What did I do? 20ths. Oh, I messed up on my paper over here. Never mind, ignore me. So 2 and 9 20ths would be your answer. Now to write this in here, you would have to write 2 and 9 slash 20. And you would have to bubble all that in. I know that looks a little weird. You could also, we haven't talked about this, but you could also multiply, turn this into an improper fraction. 20 times 2 is 40 plus this. You could also put in 49 20ths. You know how we divide to find the whole number in fraction? You can also reconvert it. So if writing in 49 slash 20 would be easier, that might come out better. You could also reconvert it. I got to remember to talk about that this week. Let me write that down. This one's very tricky because the entry in here is going to be a big problem for us. So we will talk about that one this week for sure. All right. On to number 12. Pause the video and solve number 12. Okay, so number 12 is fairly simple. I hope you guys see to eliminate choice A because that's if you add it without doing a common denominator. So 3/8 and 1/3. If we want to add those together, make our common denominator 24. You multiply by 8 here to get an 8 up here. You multiply by 3 up here to get a 9. If you're not sure where I'm getting those by now, it's from down here, and you need to know that by now. So if we add those together, we would get 17 24ths. Now, this is where everybody, we've done this problem before. That choice is written right there. You'll pick that, and you'll get it wrong. Because this number here is how much she read on Thursday. This is how much she read on Friday. The question is asking us Saturday. This answer right here is Thursday and Friday put together. We want to know what fraction did she build on Saturday. So remember, a lot of people go, well, there's no number there. I don't understand. She finished the whole puzzle, right? So that what we're taking away from is one whole. We're trying to get to one whole. So we're trying to get to 24 24ths. We're only at 17 24ths. So what is the difference between 24 and 17? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. It's 7. So she has 7 24ths to finish. So your answer would be C. You have to read the words, right? If we don't read the words, we'll be in big trouble. This last page is a whole page of not reading the words messing us up, right? Pause the video and do number 13. Okay, number 13 is recognizing that these are division problems, right? These fractions are divisions. And it's once again back to recognizing a fraction when it's smaller than 1 and a fraction when it's bigger than 1, right? So we want to know how many pounds of strawberries were in each bucket. There were 6 pounds to start and 7 buckets. So let me ask you a question. If there were only 6 pounds of strawberries to start, and we put them into 7 buckets, would there ever be 42 pounds of strawberries in each bucket? And why'd they put that there? If you don't pay attention and you multiply, you'll pick that, right? Does everybody agree that if there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buckets and only 6 pounds of strawberries, is each bucket going to be holding more than 1 pound of strawberries? There's 7 buckets and 6 pounds of strawberries. Will each bucket get more than 1 pound of strawberries? The answer is no. So B doesn't make sense because that's saying there would be at least 7 pounds of strawberries. And you need to understand that this is a division problem. 6 goes into 7 one time with 1 left over, and it would be 6. Does each bucket have 1 and 1 6 pounds of strawberries if there was only 6 to begin with? Once again, the answer is no. You need to find the fraction that shows that there's less than 1 pound in each bucket, and there's only 1 of them. They won't mess you up by putting 2. They're not going to do it. So if you got that one or didn't get that one, pause and do number 14. It's the same thing. So this problem is the same thing, except it's backwards, right? Now we have 15 gallons of water in the cooler, and there's only 10 players. So we have 15 gallons and 10 players. Is each player going to get 1 whole gallon of water at least? You should be saying yes. Every player will get at least 1 gallon of water, right? So let's go through and eliminate all the choices that are less than 1. 15 does not go into 10, so that's less than 1. It does not work. 3 does not go into 2, so that's less than 1, so it does not work. So now we're down to 2 choices. I hope you're now seeing that this is the 15 gallons of water and the 10 players dividing into it to share it, right? So your answer is A. But let's just look at this down here. This gives us 1 gallon. 5 goes into this 10 2 times. So this would be 1 plus 2. This says each player gets 3 gallons of water. There are 10 players. If each one got 3 gallons of water, we would need 30 gallons. Is that how much we had? The answer is once again no. Even if you mess this up and forget to add this 1 in, they would still need to have 20 gallons of water, which they don't have. So like, even if you messed it up, it doesn't work. It never makes sense, all right? All right, and pause the video and do number 15. Now, we have done this one in class. There are ways to eliminate it. This one, you have to do the work, but you can find what to start with, right? We know the answer has to be 37,000. We know there's a 500 here and something in the 10s here. So whatever you multiply by this 5 needs to get kind of close to the 37 to make sense, right? So if I put a 4 in here, like this 4 here, that's only going to give me 20. That's probably way too far away. So I would not start by checking out the 4. A 5 would give me 25, which is still really far away. I probably wouldn't start with the 5. So now I'm down to 2 choices. So now you just pick one. You just pick one put it in here and do the math. And if you don't get it, then it's the other one, right? So you don't have to do both. So if we started with the 7, because 7 times 5 is 35. Now, don't just assume that's right. You can't just assume based on the estimate that's right, because remember, you're leaving out this whole 87 times this other 4, right? So the number is going to get a lot more than 35 probably. So if I do 587 times 64, that would give me 8, 2, placeholder, 2, 2. Okay, now right away, before I even go any further, I see adding right here. This is already going to give me 37,000, right? Oh, I did it times 6, yeah. Oh, I said I was going to do 7, but then I did 6. Oops. I'm going backwards. Don't ever do this. This is against the rules. So the 6 works, right? I was going to put a 7 in there to show you how it didn't work. But then I looked at my notes where I worked it out so I don't look dumb on the video. And I realized that I was copying it. So eliminate the choices that don't make sense. If I would have done the 7, you would have seen that it didn't work. And then I know it's the 6, right? Because it's never going to go all the way down to the 5. It's too far. All right. This will be on Wednesday. If you guys have any questions, let me know.